YouTube, what's happening, guys? Welcome back to The Bettor's Edge. We are going to cover this year's edition of the NCAA Tournament, the Big Dance. I'm going to give you some initial thoughts, a little bit of my pre-tournament reactions and predictions based on how the bracket is set up, some of the paths to getting to the Final Four, and just some basic thoughts that I have heading into this year's tournament. As I've been talking to you guys on this show for the last week or so, this is the best time of the year, obviously for college basketball, but to bet on the sport in general. This is usually where I would say 75% of my profit in college basketball comes from. In the conference tournaments, which we banged out 25-star winner, easy winner on UVA the other night, heading into the big dance, this is where the money is made, in my opinion. Just some initial thoughts, taking a look at the outlay of how these brackets and how these games are lining up. First reaction that I have is, and I said this straight away, I don't see a ton of upsets in round one. When I was looking at a lot of these games, and we typically, we've grown up in a time or in a structure where we're used to upsets. 4 versus 13, 5 versus 12, sometimes obviously 3 versus 14, 2 versus 15. Hell, we've even seen a 1 versus 16 upset. I don't see a ton of those the way that the landscape of college basketball is right now. Obviously, last season, and this is a key point that I want to make sure that people take from this video moving forward. Last season, we saw all 4 number 1 seeds advance to the Final Four. I think the days where the big dance is full of excitement, full of upsets, and full of unpredictability, for the time being at least, I think they're over. I saw a tweet from David Purdue earlier this morning. The spreads in the first round have never been bigger. 4 seeds have never been bigger favorites than they are this season. 5 seeds have never been bigger favorites than they are this season. 3 seeds have never been bigger favorites than they are this season. And 2 seeds have never been bigger favorites than they are this season. So the key takeaway is when you're filling out these brackets and you're accustomed to looking for upsets here, there, whether they're 4 seeds getting knocked out or 5 seeds getting knocked out or 3 seeds getting knocked out, I'm not saying there are going to be any upsets whatsoever. Just get used to filling out the bracket with chalk for the most part, which is a little bit unfortunate to say, because that takes out a lot of the excitement for the actual tournament. And I think we're moving into a time of college basketball where the big dance is going to be more predictable, less entertaining, and less Cinderella stories, which is sad to say. Taking a look at the brackets, a lot of people are looking at this East bracket that has Duke, it has Michigan State, it has Connecticut, it has Kansas. And traditionally speaking, we're looking at these brackets and we're thinking, with these teams, and we're thinking, that's a mammoth of a bracket for Duke, because these are blue blood programs, these are powerhouses annually. But realistically speaking, how good are these teams in this region this season? It's been a down year, basically, for all of these programs. Michigan State, Connecticut, Kansas. These teams aren't as good as we're used to seeing them. And in my opinion, when I'm looking at this bracket, I know Duke is beat up right now. They're missing some key players. I just have a very hard time thinking that this is going to be that challenging of a bracket for Duke to get out of. Now, I'm not sitting here suggesting they're going to win this region for sure, and I'll get to my Final Four predictions later on this week. But I'm just not as convinced that this is as difficult of a region as many other people seem to suggest. I actually think out of all the 1 seeds, Duke might be the team that's most likely to get out of their region. Moving into, let's go to the West region. Moving into the West region, I think the West region is super interesting. I think Arizona right now is a team that's on the up. This is a team that does everything well. Koa Pete is back. They're getting healthy now. They just won the Big 12 tournament. They're making a concerted effort as a team to shoot the 3 ball more often. And you saw those 3 balls dropping the other night against Iowa State. And if this is a team as talented as they are, as well as they play defensively, that is going to start knocking down the 3 ball, this is a team that can cut down the nets, I can tell you that right now. Inside that bracket, in my opinion, is the biggest dark horse in this tournament, and that's the Purdue Boilermakers. Outside of the 4-1 seeds, I think Purdue probably has the best chance to advance to the Final Four. I don't love that they're going up against Arizona. We saw them dismantle Michigan last night. But this is a team that's getting healthy, that's peaking at the right time, that is better than they were last year. Last year they made a decent run in the NCAA Tournament. In my opinion, this is a team that's primed to at least get into the Elite Eight and absolutely can give Arizona a run for their money and potentially winning the West region. Moving into the Midwest, we have Michigan. In my opinion, Michigan is probably the second most likely 1 seed to win their region behind Duke. I only give them a slight advantage over Arizona because I like Purdue a bit more today than Iowa State. Just a hair more than Iowa State. But the way that Michigan is playing right now, and the turnovers, the amount of turnovers I've been talking about on the show for a while now, that they have consistently, this is a team that can be primed for an upset. And if they catch Iowa State on the wrong day, and Iowa State is hammering 3s, or if they catch Virginia, we talked about Virginia with that 25-star winner we had against Duke on the wrong day. We know the interior presence that Virginia has and their length and their shot blocking. At that point in time, it's going to come down to 3s and turnovers. We know Virginia's going to win the turnover battle. If Virginia can match them behind the arc, Michigan can absolutely be primed for an upset in that type of game. Wouldn't be shocked whatsoever if we see Michigan in an Elite Eight matchup against Virginia or Iowa State. And I think Michigan's going to get there. I think they have the easiest run out of all of the 1 seeds to get to the Elite Eight. But if they're playing Virginia or Iowa State, either of those 2 teams can absolutely give them a run for their money. Going into the South region, we have Florida, we have Houston, we have Illinois. That's the region, in my opinion, that's the most open. I shouldn't even forget about Vanderbilt. How could I forget about Vandy? Vandy just obliterated this same Florida team 2 nights ago. If they're going to meet again in a Sweet 16 showdown, that is not a team that Florida wants to play. This is the most interesting bracket from a potential upset perspective because I think Florida is absolutely the weakest 1 seed. Houston is obviously a very capable 2 seed. Illinois is a very dangerous 3 seed. And I talked about Vanderbilt and how they've already upset and obliterated Florida in the SEC tournament. I wouldn't be shocked whatsoever if they do the same thing again should they meet in a Sweet 16 matchup. That kid Miles on Vanderbilt, what a game, what a tournament he had in the SEC tournament. What a player he is. I wouldn't be shocked whatsoever if we're seeing a Vanderbilt Illinois or Vanderbilt Houston Elite Eight showdown to win that region. Ultimately, when I'm looking at all of this, guys, as I mentioned already, I don't see a ton of upsets. I see a lot of these 1 seeds getting at least to the Elite Eight. I see a minimum of 2 1 seeds, if not more, advancing to the Final Four. And I just have a really hard time seeing a team cut down the nets when it's all said and done. That's not Duke, that's not Arizona, or that's not Michigan. And that's probably the way that I would rank them in order as far as the favorites to win this thing. Just real quick, when I'm taking a look at some play-in game matchups that I like and some round 1 matchups that I like. These are not official picks. They're not official predictions. I'll probably have that in my video tomorrow. But we're looking at a few games. Miami of Ohio getting 8.5. I know a lot of people are down on this team. I know a lot of people look at their strength of schedule. They haven't played anybody. They haven't beaten anybody. They lost to UMass in their conference tournament. They're going up against a good SMU team. But this SMU team, are they really deservedly favorites over Miami of Ohio by 8.5 points? Do we really think this team that has 1 loss all season is going to get curb stomped by an SMU team that's fading right now? That seems like a ton of points to give to a team that you can almost be certain is going to try and put some respect on their name and to try to prove a point that they deserve to be in this tournament. They may not win this game against SMU, but do we think they're going to get blown out the gym? I don't know. Early lean, Miami of Ohio in that game. Akron. This is a team that I think a lot of people aren't familiar with. Staying in the same conference as Miami of Ohio. Staying in the MAC. This is the best team in the MAC. They're athletic. They're long. They defend well. They get up and down the court. They're healthy right now. If I'm not mistaken, I think they're getting 7.5 or 8.5 points right now. Akron's getting 8.5 right now against Texas Tech. This is a Texas Tech team that obviously is missing their best player in Toppin. And for the first 4 or 5 games without him, looked like they didn't miss a beat. Their star point guard picked up a little bit of a nagging injury. And since then, you're starting to see the presence of Toppin starting to finally be felt. I don't see how Texas Tech is going to roll in this game. Of course, if those 3 balls keep falling, they're shooting the 3-ball more, and they're shooting them at a high percentage. If those fall at a 40% clip, absolutely, Akron can get run out of the gym. But if those 3 balls don't fall, this Texas Tech team could be primed for one of the few upsets in this first round. Give me, most likely, the points in this matchup. Last game that I want to talk about, Iowa and Clemson. These are 2 teams that play very, very similarly. Slow, don't want to get up and down the court, minimize the amount of possessions, take care of the ball, and defend very well. The problem that I see for Clemson in this type of matchup, number 1, they're not healthy. Number 2, Iowa is just a better version of this Clemson team and all of those categories that I just mentioned. This line opened at Iowa minus 1.5. It's not a coincidence to me that it quickly shot up to 2.5. Early lean, Iowa Hawkeyes minus 2.5 to cover that number. Guys, as always, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be back tomorrow with my official picks and predictions for the playing games. And obviously, I'll be back shortly for my picks and predictions for the round 1 games. Round 2, whatever they call it these days. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys soon.